So I've been working here on the second picture that I've left undone, and it's now going to be getting to the real kind of, I mean, the face was kind of the thing. If I could even get the face close to what was on the cover, then I was going to continue. And I have to say, I'm really surprised. I'm not particularly happy in some spots, but I think it's the mix of the colored pencils that I used, which is causing a big problem. I think the Faber Castell and even the Goldfaber, which is supposed to be the student grade ones, do very well on this paper if you just do it lightly and build. So today I think what I really want to focus on, because I think it's going to take a lot of concentration and focus, believe it or not, are the berries. I've not even really started on the hair. I've put in a little bit here and there, but that's all the background. So I think I'm going to start working on these berries and really focusing on them, because they do take time and layers, and as dark as I'm going to need to get them according to this picture, and I apologize again for that glare, but for this picture, it's going to be a lot of layers. I mean, these are kind of bright, which is nice, but getting that red, and then, but this over here is going to be more of a challenge. And then I'm probably going to go ahead and try the strawberries. And then after that, it'll just be the hair, the leaves and all. And of course, this lovely little butterfly. So going to, oh, and you know what? I just now noticed in this picture, I didn't even notice it before. There's a bee. So yeah, there's a little bee up there. Okay, so I'm going to be focusing on the berries for a while. So I'm going to jump in here and do a huge apology. I did not get the names of the pencils that I'm using or the colors for this first, probably third of the, particularly when I'm doing the berries, basically. Once I start on the butterfly, which will be later, I do have the actual names and the color combinations and things that I use. So I apologize. Typically, I always provide this. And so, but I thought I would still show it. Basically, when you're looking at this, I kind of always start with my medium, in this case, red color. Those berries are red. The ones on the other side are more of a blue, purple kind of color. So I'm working on that right now. And as you can see, I'm really focusing on each segment. And that's what makes the berries so unique. If I had just done a flat color over all of them, I don't know that I could have gotten the depth that I eventually get. So I do go ahead and I will be switching out to after this, I believe, let's take a wait and see. Yes, so now we're going in with the lightest. That's normally what I do. I go from the medium to the lightest, and I use that medium, the original one, for those shadows for me to really, really get what I'm looking at there. And then I go in with the light, kind of getting the top parts. So I use the medium to show the shadows where all the segments, and then now I'm coming in with the darkest red. So again, I usually use a dark, a medium, and a light. Now this is a part that I did want to go ahead and keep in the video, because I think this is one of the things I do. That's a Stabilo 68, and that marker right there I will do in the very, very crevices, and it really deepens it up. And so that's one of the challenges I have with any type of pencil, but I had a lot of challenge with the Irotigens and with the Faber Castells getting that really deep color. So I do like to use the Stabiles. Now typically if I use these on my Prismacolors or my Crayolas, I could come back in and do a lot of blending. I'm doing a pouncing method. I just kind of pounce it in the very, very corners. And I do it very slowly, as you can see, just to be able to see the process of those segments really coming to light. You'll also notice that I found a new camera technique, and let me know if I overuse it. I thought it was really great in this particular incident, where we kind of zoom in so you can really see where I'm placing that, just on the very darkest parts, because again, when you use like a marker, you can't remove it. Now I'm onto a tripless fine liner. I don't know what color this is for sure. They don't have colors anyway,
number wise. If you notice a Stabilo, you'll have 68, you'll have, and then a /50. 50 is the color number, but not a name. Triplets don't have anything. And the reason I'm using this is if you look as we get in, you're going to see how fine that point is. And this one is going to be darker yet than even the Stabilo that I was just using. And I love using these guys. I use them a lot. If you watch my old videos, I do this a lot. And it really helps me kind of get that pop. They're not terribly expensive, and these have lasted me a long time. So actually quite impressed with them. Again, well worth the shipping cost to get them to Singapore. And now we're just going to go back into the colored pencils. Again, I apologize, I don't have the colors. I believe almost all of them that I use are Faber Castell Polychromos, but I wish I had the color combination, but I don't. Those that know these polychromos really well might be able to tell what color it is. So if you do, leave it down in the comments. It's always greatly appreciated. All right, so we're going to let you just kind of finish out with the berries. Like I said, there's not going to be the color combinations. But just know all I do is keep fussing and fussing, because that's what I do. I fuss. So at this point, I'm bringing in the handy dandy Posca. It's just an acrylic paint pen. It's in white. It's the very, very small one. I can't remember what that is. It's like a 0.7 or something. That's mainly all I use in coloring books, is the really fine pointed. And I'm just hitting those highlights with this white. And then you saw me dabbing with my thumb or my fingers just to kind of take a little bit off. It might be a little bit too bright, and I want to, dull it down a little bit. But this helps bring out some of the shiny of those berries. So yeah, there I am dabbing again. And make sure if you pounce on it like that, it's a straight up, don't smear, but even if it does, you can always color over it. Like, see how I'm coming in with this lighter pink color again, going back over probably some of the little corners just to really, and what's funny is if it dries well enough and you can actually color over them, then you've got even a lighter pink because it has that white underneath it. So that is definitely a way to kind of get all these segments and things of the berries really popping and giving that depth and that three-dimensional. So now I'm coming in, that is a Goldfaber. Again, don't have the colors, but just know that I'm doing the exact same thing, coming in and really separating out. Now there was already a little bit of color on these berries beforehand, so, and most likely that means that they were done with Irotijan. So now I'm doing that Goldfaber Irotijan combo and trying to work on that, and just starting, there was already what I would call the mid tones. And now we get to fan ourselves a lot, because I'm constantly going back and forth looking at the front page of the coloring book to get that inspiration. Yeah, here we go. Start getting ourselves fanned and cooler. I'm trying to get some shadowing, trying to see how deep of a shadow, where were the shadows, trying to get that guidance from the front, like where I saw that it was darker versus lighter. So that is why we are doing the fan dance at this point with the coloring situation. But it's very funny. I did not think to get the copy of the front page and put it like up on my computer so that I could just reference it until much later. But I do eventually come to that conclusion and idea and go, So I'm bringing in Stabiles again. This is probably a purple color to go really in there, and you can start seeing those segments kind of popping. Again, the Triplets fine liners are fantastic because they have just such a tiny pen. I mean, they are incredibly fine, and it's not a soft fine nib, and I appreciate that because it doesn't wear down as quickly. Very, very useful, and I use them quite a lot. And as I did before, we're going to bring the Posca back in, hit those little highlights, but only on like one or two sides, trying to get more of that shading. So the little finger dab, I end up being covered in acrylic paint in a lot of these by the time that I'm finishing up a few things. So there we go, little dab will do ya.
All right, so the berries themselves on the side have been, I think, are about where I'm going to leave them at this point. And I think I'm just going to go work on the greenery for a little while, just to kind of have something to do that's not as careful and intense. It's just kind of a fun, there's a lot of layers and some of the background. And then as I get closer to the end, I'll bring you back. That this isn't a tutorial, it's just a catch up of what I've been working on. And I got a mess of colors. It's just amazing to me how many pencils I can get out for something as small as a berry. All right, so here we go again, and oh, sorry, Fairy Fantasies 2. So I'm still working on, yes, it is the same as the cover. You can see I've made some progress. I could probably work on this for, yeah, very many hours, that's for sure. So let me get you set up, because I think today what we're going to do is we're going to work on the butterfly. And by working on this for many hours is the background and really intensifying it and all that. But I kind of also like how it's looking right now. But I want to get the butterfly and the little bee up here finished today. And that way I can kind of finish it during this week. The flowers I will mess with a little bit more. They need some more blending and stuff just to kind of, and probably even some Posca or Arctics or some type of white around some of the edges just to kind of make them pop a little bit more as white. But she's coming along. I'm really been enjoying this picture. So let me bring you in a little bit closer and then we'll get set up. All right. So the hard part here is that I can't see the picture on the front. And that's what I'm using as my guidance. I did already, you might already notice, put in a little bit of blue here, and I started in on the black here and went, oh, this might be one that somebody might be interested in. So it is a little monarch butterfly. What I'm going to do right now is put in some really bright yellow marker. And hold on one moment. It's just the Stabilo that I'm using. And the reason is that I kind of want this as the base. I'll make sure I've got, yeah, that's what I got. I forgot to put my page underneath. It's because this is very thin paper. And I'm just kind of using this as a real brightener so that once I go in with my pencils, this is kind of underlying. I did this with a lot of little highlights when I first started with this. Kind of sketched out some highlights with kind of a neon yellow. And just going to put these in. They're going to look messy. Into the very corners. Of each one of these little wings. So as I said before, I really have enjoyed doing this coloring, even though I'm not creating as far as the color combinations. I'm definitely going by her front cover, but I like doing things like that because what ends up happening is I end up trying color combinations I wouldn't normally. So her skin is a huge indicator of that. I would have never thought to put those colors on there. And what's really nice is I'm kind of can use her inspiration just looking at the colors that I see and kind of go from there. So it's the same as following kind of coloring tutorials on on YouTube. I do them. That's how I got started, but it's definitely also it's expanded what I'm willing to do and to use colors and or materials that I wouldn't, or even color into books and stuff that I probably wouldn't have normally picked up. But largely it's learning color combinations and how to put colors together to get other colors that I really appreciate. And there is something a little freeing when you follow those. So I encourage, to go out there, follow the Chris Chang's. I mean, she has so many things out there, and now she's making her own coloring pages, which are beautiful. But she's colored in so many other books and stuff. You can get a huge amount of inspiration and learn technique, and then also have kind of that moment where you're not having to decide colors. You're just following along. Somebody else is great. It's kind of like I really enjoy, and I don't know that a lot of people, if they do or don't, but I like limited color palettes that are established. They really make me think outside the box. So I really like all of these kind of things that we get inspiration from. If you know anyone who's taking art classes, they're all being encouraged to go and actually make, well, not to resale, or they make copies of masterpieces, because the colors are chosen, the subject is chosen, and then you can focus on more of the actual like technique or lines, instead of trying to also have to figure out what you're perceiving you're seeing and what colors. There's a little bit of a respite there, I think, that we can allow ourselves. And as you use those color palettes more and more, as you sit there and you kind of like, oh, I see what they're doing here, I see how that moves into that next color, you'll be able to use it in the future when you go to color something more independently. So as you can see here, this was the whole idea, is I really wanted that yellow that I put down to be kind of a highlighter. And so when I color over it, it almost makes the colors, the Faber Castell pencils, have a glow. So that's why I put that in, and I put it in first rather than later, because I wanted it on the white, and then of course I would be coloring over it. You can also have done this not just with a highlighter or a yellow, bright yellow marker. You could do it with a very bright yellow pencil. That will help it as well. It kind of makes things glow. I end up using a lot of yellow. I'm always looking for the perfect yellow, just because you can use it in so many places. Underneath for brightening and so this is what I'm saying. If you take in like this light yellow, and you could put that down as well. I would put it down pretty heavily if that's what you're doing instead of the marker, to really make sure I'm getting those undertones through. So now it's all about just playing, kind of tinkering around with each and every one of these little bits, and kind of till I get the kind of the colors and what I was hoping to achieve. And we're just going to kind of put this over everything, and then I'm going to start working on blackening up the actual body. But there's a lot of blue and almost gray tones that she uses, again because she probably was using, she was using watercolors, I'm sure. So I'm going in now and putting in a little bit more of this light blue just to kind of mark out where it might be lighter versus darker. I've already done up in here. So if you look at that front page, you know, it's not all just a dark black. It's got a bit of a blue. And so now I'm just going to come in here with this black and start very lightly putting it in. You don't need to be that worried about the white dots. You can add those back in later. So if you cover them up, that's fine. My 30 minutes a day coloring. It's been working. Some days I've been able to sit down a little longer. My Mondays and Tuesdays are always full of laundry. That seems to be how I do it. And laundry here in Singapore is a little different than laundry in the United States in general, in that, like the UK, the predominance in these condos is to have a washer-dryer single unit. So it's both a washer and a dryer. And I first ran into that when we lived in London. And I would say that the challenge with that is, though it is incredibly space-saving, and I appreciate that, it does not allow that if you're washing to be drying in a dryer at the same time. And so it cuts down the amount of time, or no, it increases the time, I should say, that's needed for washing and drying. So we dry a lot of stuff out on our balcony area, our patio area. I use those words interchangeably because it's not really a balcony because it's on the first floor. So, but it does mean that doing any type of laundry takes longer. I'm going to go out on a limb though and say my observations though are that my clothes are cleaner, but getting them dry is a challenge. So I do feel like the washer dryer combos, the washing is done very well. The drying, I can't seem to get the knack of it. If I use the dryer, it seems to be just always set on scald. It's just what it seems. And so I will use it a little bit to like dry towels to not completely bone dry. And then, but otherwise we use a hanging thing out on the patio. But I don't like having that up all the time. So I only do laundry one time a week, and well, it's 2 times a week technically because it's Monday and Tuesday. So yeah, but it is that's what my Mondays and Tuesdays seem to be. Laundry, woo! But it's fine because in between I can come in and color, and I was doing that. And so I can sometimes color more on some days than others. And so when I'm doing laundry, if I'm not ironing and if I'm just drying stuff and getting stuff in the washer and all that, I can use those days for washing and things like that. So, and then I can color on top of that. So I did get quite a lot of coloring, and since I want to do the background, I was also able to do some listening to some and watching or coloring while watching some YouTubers. So been doing a lot of looking at journals and planners for next year. This is always the time of year that you get just inundated with all of those, and I get excited as well, especially this year having a room in which I can do those kind of activities. I'm very, very happy about that. That is for sure. Do you use any type of a journal? Are you planning on using some journals? If so, do you have a preference? So as you see, I'm going over the black with some blue here. Again, mixing up blacks and blues and purples really deepen your overall look of a black color. And that's why I normally end up mixing them over. So I'm going over basically everything right now, and I've kind of given up on trying to keep a lot of my spots white. I will come back in with a Posca or some other acrylic pen of some sort. Probably not a gel. I don't do well with gel pens as far as actually covering. They seem to get or it starts, to me, they start looking like they're flaking off. So, and if I accidentally color over them, I usually scrape them off with a pencil. So there's that. Just going to go over it much closer. I'll bring you out a little bit. Oh, or in. Just kind of see how it's looking. How it's looking overall. So liking that. Now I'm just going to kind of darken up. That's all I'm doing. And that's a lot of the playing. So we just planned our first mini holiday from Singapore and booked it, so that'll be fun. We're just taking a couple days in December. I don't know what you guys are doing for your break and holidays, but we're going to be on our own basically, so I don't know how much we're going to get into it. No offense, people. I know some people absolutely love all the holidays and stuff. I don't know, sometimes I think that they're so wrapped up in promises that they can't keep. You know, it's still the same family you've always had. So if there's challenges in your family, the chances of a holiday bringing out the best in them, it's probably not. And I guess, you know, that's just and then for other people, you know, holidays are all about the family because their family dynamic must work. But I don't know. I guess here it's funny. I'm more interested in right now. I just wanted to go out and explore more of Singapore. I want to go and explore more of the area, the geographical area that's Southeast Asia. And so I haven't really got focused on the holidays. All right, so I'm liking the look of that. It's a little grainy on here, but it's so funny, it doesn't look as grainy, but I might try and get some of that mineral stuff and do some and see if that helps any with getting those colors kind of together. But I do feel like it did a pretty nice job. I definitely need to come back in with my Posca or whatever white I'm going to do. And that's really where I'm at. Let's go up here and play with the bee a bit. Get him in there because I've already started. I started kind of darkening him up, but I wanted to, since I have the yellows out anyway, we're going to make him a good old traditional bumblebee up there. Looking at the roundness, I'm going to say it's a bumble, but something might tell you otherwise. So there we've got our, our nice yellow, and a lighter yellow through here, just through that see-through. And I've already done some black on him, so I'll do just a little bit more. But there we go. So we got our little bumblebee. So I think for right now, that's going to be it for today for our coloring. That was about 30 minutes. But let me go see if actually, before you go, I'm just going to do a little experiment again with this oil medium that I found here. It's just not as good as Gamsol. But let me just do a little bit of play and see what I can, if anything's going to change. If I can get this to get into those little white bits a little bit more. What I like about these mineral spirits and stuff when they do work is how it kind of turns my pencil work almost into what looks like watercolor work. And I'm not a watercolorist, so this is as close as I get. I'm seeing a little bit of blending and, lack of a better word, melting, but not. And again, it could be because these are not Prismacolors, or I haven't done enough layers. It could be the Irotijan that's underneath could be, causing challenges. But we shall try our best here. Just trying to get those white, kind of like the white bits that you can see in the darker colors coming through, because the paper is it's smooth, but it still has, that patchiness. So yeah, there you go. I think that helped it a little bit. And I'm gonna, like I said, gonna go and get the white next. And we'll go from there. Let me see if it works on this little strawberry that I did earlier. It helps it blend a little bit. That I don't think had enough on it to make it worth it. I had a lot more layers on that first strawberry than I do on these subsequent ones. I have a lot of layers on these leaves, but it's amazing how dry that all sounds. But I think I'm seeing a little bit of that blend. It could be because it's still wet too, so I'll come back and take a look at it once it's dry and try to decide if I still think it did any good. Pretty happy with it. Not a bad little butterfly. Like I said, I have a little bit more cleaning up to do, but not bad for today's work.
So now I'm bringing in this Thule Art acrylic paint pen. It's a 0.7. I recently purchased these and they've been working pretty well, and what it is it's a set that is of a lot of pastel colors. So what I find with a lot of my flowers and stuff, that if I do white, then I have to go back and try to color over the acrylic paint with like a colored pencil or something. And what happens sometimes is either I don't let it dry long enough, that could be operator error, or it's just the nature of the beast, when I go in, I kind of scrape off the acrylic. So it's kind of have to be very careful. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So I was interested in trying some of these pastel acrylic paint pens, and this came up, of course, as a suggestion from Amazon. They're ever so helpful, and they've worked really well. Now I'm bringing in, and these are the ones I'm talking about, the Presto correction pen. Now you can use correction pens. They're basically almost like an acrylic paint as well, and I'm just putting in highlights and stuff and kind of making some of those black lines disappear or recede. The thing with the correction pens, I would say, is if I was going to go back over this with color, if I didn't want it to be the pure white that it is, and since these flowers are a lot of white in the flowers, it was okay. This doesn't work as well when I go in with my colors, with my colored pencils. It'll scrape it off. But it was fine with what I was doing here. And then I'm just adding highlights into the eyes, and then we're going to go down. Remember what I said? I started kind of coloring over the spots and was like, it is what it is. We're going to add those spots back in now on the butterfly just to finish him up a little bit. And you know, that's one of the things that's really striking on a monarch butterfly is how white those spots on the edge really are. So personally, this pen was, or this correction fluid was working perfectly for this. And now that went a little bit of a blob, and that's what happens sometimes. They'll just kind of blob out on you. So as you know, but again, I'm finishing off. I'm going to let things dry, and then I can come back in with a black pencil you'll see me bring in, and I can start working on that body a little bit more where that big blob happened, because that's supposed to be just a kind of a shine. There we go. And see, it works really well. I let it dry long enough. And if some of it scraped off at that part, it would be perfectly what I was looking for anyways, because it kind of blobbed.
All right, I think I might call this one done. Though the urge to go in and darken up around here to really try to get that deepness, but I don't think oh, you know what I didn't do is I didn't put on any flecks like she has here. I don't know if you can see them for the glare. I don't know if I want to do that. I think I'm going to call this one done. I mean, it's inspired by the original. Not a direct copy, but I think that this one's pretty much done, and I'm really glad that I finished it. These last two that I've been doing in here, I'm really happy with. I mean, they're beautiful illustrations. We know that as it is. So I'm going to go ahead and put this completed. 11/23. I think I started this, to be honest with you. I think I started this probably about this time last year. So another one that's been, you know, kind of hiding for the last year. But that makes me feel really good, because that means there are no unfinished books. They've both been finished, and they are complete. So I'm really, really happy about that. And I love trying to do this in the same style as the artwork that were given by Christine here on her cover. And very, very inspiring, and definitely tried a lot of techniques, especially on the face, color-wise, that I wouldn't normally do. So amazing. So all right, well, we're done for this week, and we're going to be moving on to another work in progress. Remember, it is Knock It Out November. This is number 2 for November that I've managed to get finished, so yay me. It's the little things in life. And join me next week and see what I've been coloring. So, you know, but meanwhile, keep coloring those pages. Bye for now.